Trade and plastic pollution. Plastic pollution is not just a waste problem. Welcome to Financing Our Planet, a short video series on financing environmental agreements. Across this series, we have seen that environmental outcomes are shaped by interlinked systems, financial, governance, and operational, that determine who pays and who decides what is funded. Plastic pollution is no different. Plastic does not begin as waste. It begins as a product, shaped by global markets, industrial incentives, and trade rules. To understand why plastic pollution persists, we need to understand how trade structures influence what is produced, where it flows, and who bears the consequences. How trade systems drive plastic production. Global trade systems are designed to promote efficiency, scale, and market access. For plastics, this has meant mass production of low-cost materials that move easily across borders. Subsidies and incentives for fossil fuels and petrochemicals reduce the cost of virgin plastic. Trade liberalization then allows these products to enter markets worldwide, often undercutting alternatives, refill systems, or reuse models. The result is a global market where plastic is cheap, abundant, and difficult to displace, regardless of a country's capacity to manage its impacts. Trade rules and environmental constraints. International trade is governed through agreements and institutions designed to prevent discrimination and reduce barriers to trade. These rules prioritize predictability and market access. Environmental measures such as restrictions on plastic products or production methods can come into tension with trade commitments if they are perceived as limiting imports or altering competitive conditions. While trade rules do include environmental exceptions, using them requires legal capacity and political leverage that are not available to all countries. This creates uneven space for countries to regulate plastics in line with environmental goals. Plastic flows and unequal impacts. Plastic production, consumption, and disposal are not evenly distributed. Some countries produce large volumes of plastic, others primarily consume it, while still others bear the burden of waste and pollution. In many cases, those least responsible for plastic production face the greatest environmental and health burdens, from unmanaged waste to contaminated ecosystems, disrupting both lives and livelihoods. This reflects a broader pattern seen throughout environmental governance. Responsibility for harm and vulnerability to its effects are often disconnected. Governance gaps between trade and environment. Trade governance and environmental governance largely operate in parallel. Environmental agreements seek to reduce harm. Trade agreements seek to facilitate exchange. When these systems are not aligned, economic incentives can undermine environmental objectives. Efforts to reduce plastic production may face resistance if they are seen as disrupting trade flows without coordinated adjustment. This governance gap is not accidental. It reflects how global economic rules were designed, often without environmental limits at their core. Why trade matters for plastic solutions. If plastic pollution is driven by global production and trade systems, then solutions focused only on waste management will always fall short. Effective responses must consider upstream drivers, subsidies, production incentives, and trade rules that make plastic the default option. Without addressing these structures, policies risk moving pollution rather than reducing it. This is why trade increasingly appears explicitly or implicitly in discussions about plastics. Plastic pollution sits at the intersection of trade, finance, and environmental protection. Understanding these connections helps explain why implementation is so challenging and why solutions must be systemic. In the final video, we will speak with Muhammad Kamal, an expert in waste and financial mechanisms, to understand why a dedicated financial mechanism is central to making a global response to plastic pollution credible, equitable, and implementable.